I'm Mrs. Grisak, and I wanted to show you some of the coil pots that I've made as examples for Mrs. Morgan. This one was one that I started about a week ago. After it was dry, when it was still greenware though, I painted these little eyeball designs and I scratched out the little designs inside the eye there so that it would look like, you know, like a real eye. And then I fired it. So I had to do this before it's fired. It's not going to come off now. After it came out of the kiln, I decided that I wanted all these little cracks and crevices to look like they were blue. So I painted on the blue underglaze and then I washed it off, and this is what it looks like now after I've washed off the glaze. You can just barely see the blue inside all the cracks and crevices, so it really highlights the coils that I made for my little vase here. So that's how that one's going to look. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the inside of that one yet. For this little coil pot, I did something similar. I painted the blue underglaze on this little smooth strip that I made. And you can see I carved some really cute little designs inside there all the way around. And that I did before the bisque fire. Then we bisque fired it, so now this is nice and permanent. And what I have on here now is a purple underglaze inside all the cracks. And you can see I also did some purple underglaze on the inside. You can see my little crack there. I'm going to fill that crack with some glaze. When we put the clear glaze over top of this, that will fill that in. So this one is ready to be clear glazed and then fired again. With the underglaze, you paint it in all the cracks and then you wash it off, and you'll see that it stays just inside the cracks. And so then I'll have this nice white area on the outside, and then the cracks will be the color that I painted inside there with the underglaze. This underglaze, if you're going to scratch designs, you have to paint that on before you fire it, because you can't really scratch this after it's been fired. It's a little too hard to scratch. What I'm working on right now is my really tall skinny vase. I thought it would be kind of cool to do a variegated, like I want it still to be just inside the cracks, but I want it to change from a really light turquoise at the top down to black at the bottom. So you can see I've already painted on my black underglaze inside all the cracks. You can see you don't have to cover it fully. We don't want to waste any of that underglaze, so just try to get it only in the cracks if you can. The lighter color, this turquoise, I think it's called Tucson turquoise, is really, really light. It's kind of hard to see it even. It's so light. So I thought, well, I painted on the Tucson turquoise inside the cracks, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint black over top of the Tucson turquoise. I don't know if this is going to work. I think it will probably work, where I mix the black in with the turquoise, and then at the top I'm going to do only turquoise, so that it'll look, I hope, it'll look like it fades slowly from turquoise down to black at the bottom, and it'll give me kind of a cool variegated effect. So right now I'm going to work on painting the black inside the cracks. Let's see if I can do this where you can see it on the camera. So I just take my brush and I kind of squish it along like that to get it inside just the cracks. You kind of have to poke it a little bit too, like really get it to get inside those cracks and crevices like that. Try to do this like I'm working in the mirror. Kind of get it into those cracks and crevices like that. And the turquoise is already on there, so hopefully they'll mix together and look nice. We'll see. The black might cover up the turquoise just a little bit too much. I don't. You guys can. You'll see how this turns out just at the same time I do, because I'm not really sure about it. I think I'll just go up like that, just a little bit into that part of the design. Let's see right there. There, I think I have it pretty much in all the cracks and crevices that I need to. Oops, I need to do it right in there. Yep, I think I pretty much got it. Okay, now I'll do the Tucson turquoise for the rest of it. It's kind of important to have a stiff brush when you're doing this to make sure it can really push down into those cracks and crevices, because you really do want it to get down in there good. Now at this point you want to let it dry. Your underglaze needs to be completely all the way dry before you wash it off. Otherwise it'll all come out and it'll be for nothing. You don't want to waste the underglaze because it's expensive. I'm just double checking to make sure that I got all the parts and pieces. Okay. Now, you need to let it sit there and get all the way dry before you do anything else. But the next thing you're going to do is you're going to wash all that off underwater. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes to dry before I start the next part. Okay, it's fully dry now, so I'm going to go ahead and wash it off. So it's important to make sure your water is not going too fast, but you do want some running water and a cloth towel. Get your towel nice and soaking wet. And then take your pottery piece. And wash it off. you can see what that's looking like. You could leave it like a lot of black still showing or a lot of underglaze still showing and let it be smudgy, or you can wash off really clean where it's just barely in the cracks. You kind of have to decide as the artist what you want yours to look like. I'm just going to use a paper towel to hold this because my hand is wet. I need to get down here. I'll just see what this looks like with the transition area. So you can see what that started to look like there. You can see my black really stained it. Just want to try and scrub that a little bit more. So that's what it started to look like. You can just still see the blue there, and then in here, it's probably a little more black than I wanted. Maybe I'll take a brush and kind of try to brush out a little bit more of the black that's in here. I might just overlap this with a little more turquoise, again, let it dry and try to scrub it off. But what happened was where I did the black first, it kind of stained the coils right there, so I might have to really scrub that a little bit better and redo some parts right here.